Hey everyone, so today I have two lesser known unsolved cases to share with you. One is an unsolved murder, the other is a missing persons case featuring a pair of siblings. There's not a lot of information online about either of them, but I did want to cover them both. The second one was actually a viewer request, so let's get started. Myrisha Campbell was born on March 2nd, 1955 to AJ and Jewel Campbell. A couple of years later, on September 20th, 1957, she was joined by a younger brother, AJ Campbell Jr. Not too long after AJ's birth, their mom left their dad, claiming he was abusive, and she and the children moved into a house in Goliad, Texas. AJ Sr. was only allowed to see his children during court-ordered visits, and September 6, 1958 was one of those days. It would turn out to be the last. AJ Sr. picked up 3-year-old Myrisha and 11-month-old AJ Jr. at 9 a.m. He was supposed to have them back by 3 p.m. He got a ride with a man named William Randall Jr., who I've only seen described as an acquaintance of his. The four of them took off in Randall's pink and gray 1955 Chevrolet Tudor and drove through several Texas cities. At some point, AJ Sr. stopped to buy 2 cans of lard. They were almost back to Goliad when AJ dropped William Randall off to visit a friend. AJ picked him back up about 40 minutes later, but the kids weren't with him. According to William, AJ said he'd gotten in a fight with his brother-in-law and had left the kids with other relatives. He also asked if he had any blood on him. The two drove to San Antonio, about 100 miles northwest-ish of Goliad, and AJ dropped William off. They were supposed to meet back up the next day so William could get his car back, but AJ never showed up, and William reported the car stolen. On the night of either September 6th or September 7th, different sources said different things, AJ contacted a pastor in the Fort Worth area and said, or at least heavily implied, that he killed his children and was going to kill himself as well. On September 7th, his body was found in William Randall's car on a road near Austin, Texas. He'd shot himself in the head. There was no sign of Myrisha or AJ Jr. So what happened to the kids? Where did AJ Campbell take them after he parted ways with William Randall? Did he really kill them like he claimed, or did he sell them or give them to someone else? In which case, could they still be alive? After her estranged husband's death, Jewel Campbell remarried and had at least 2 more children. Phil Robertson and Regina Mainig believe their half-brother and sister may still be alive somewhere, and they've never stopped looking. Around 2011, Phil Robertson got a tip that there was a man named AJ Campbell who had lived in Arlington in the 1990s, I assume Arlington, Texas. The man had the same birthday as the missing AJ Jr., and they looked a little bit alike, but that's as far as this lead seemed to go. According to a 2016 article in D Magazine, Phil was unable to find out if the man from Arlington really was his brother. But people talking about this case online seem to generally agree on a different theory. There has been speculation that Myrisha was the Jane Doe known as Little Miss Nobody, whose body was found in a creek bed in Arizona in July of 1960. However, Little Miss Nobody was estimated to be 6 or 7 years old, so a little older than Myrisha. According to the Web Sleuths page I found this speculation on, DNA testing was happening to determine if there was a match, but I can never find any results. Most of the speculators I came across think AJ Sr. did kill his children. One wondered if he might have put their bodies in the barrels of lard he bought and burned them. Myrisha Campbell and AJ Campbell Jr. were 3 years and 11 months old respectively when they were last seen on September 6, 1958, just outside Goliad, Texas. They are classified as endangered missing. At the time of her disappearance, Myrisha was 2 feet 6 inches tall and 28 pounds, with dark blonde hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a pink dress with a Peter Pan collar, a gathered skirt, pink socks, white buckled shoes, and a gold bracelet. If she were alive today, she would be 66 years old. At the time of his disappearance, AJ was 2 feet 2 inches tall with blonde hair and brown eyes. He has a birthmark on his eyelid and another below his lip. His thumbs are clubbed at the ends. He was last seen wearing a faded yellow cloth diaper with a plastic liner over it and a blue and white checkered shirt with a darker blue collar. If he were alive today, he would be 63 years old. If you have any information about the disappearance of AJ and Myrisha Campbell, you can contact the Goliad County Sheriff's Office at 361-645-3541. Very little information is publicly available on Alexander Harris's early life. He was born in or around 1980 to Roxanne Harris. I found nothing substantial about his biological father. At the time of his death, Alexander lived with his mom in Mountain View, California, in the state's famous Silicon Valley. On the morning of November 27th, 1987, the day after Thanksgiving, Alexander, his mom, and grandfather were on their way home from a family reunion, I believe in Las Vegas. On the way home, the family stopped at Whiskey Pete's, a bar and casino that is, at least today, part of Prim Valley Casino Resort on Las Vegas Boulevard near the Nevada-California state line. Alexander headed to the casino's arcade while his mom and grandfather went to gamble. Around 11 a.m., witnesses saw 7-year-old Alexander walking hand in hand with a man in his 30s down a hallway headed in the direction of the casino's hotel. At first, at least one witness assumed the two were father and son. Not too long after this, Roxanne Harris approached the man looking for Alexander. The man told her he'd recently seen a little boy who matched her son's description, and they soon realized these two boys were actually the same, and the man was obviously not his father. Roxanne contacted the police. For the next 2 days, Las Vegas police searched the casino grounds, and the FBI got involved. Alexander's family was ruled out as suspects, and at least 2 drawings were released to the man Alexander had last been seen with. The man was described as being between 5'7" and 6 feet tall, 160 to 175 pounds, with sandy blonde hair, a tan members-only style jacket that was popular at the time, and glasses. Then, on December 30th, Alexander's body was found by a casino maintenance worker. He'd been buried under a trailer that was close to the casino and was used by employees during their off time. An autopsy would later conclude that Alexander had been dead since pretty soon after he went missing. His body had no visible trauma, and investigators believe he was suffocated. Police looked into everyone who had been staying on the 2nd floor of the casino at the time of Alexander's disappearance. This is how they found out about Howard Hopt, a 38-year-old data processor from San Diego who bore at least some resemblance to the man Alexander had last been seen with. Police showed his photo to eyewitnesses and hotel staff, who agreed that he looked like the same guy. But the case against Howard Hopt was not rock solid by any means. A fingerprint found on Alexander's glasses was similar to Hopt's, but it couldn't be determined whether it was actually his. Hopt also produced eyewitnesses of his own who corroborated his alibi that he was out sailing when Alexander went missing. Searches of his house and car failed to turn up any evidence to tie him to the crime. Nevertheless, he was arrested on February 20th, 1988, and was charged with kidnapping and first-degree murder. His trial began the following January, and he faced the death penalty. Hopt's lawyer said the man Alexander had last been seen with wasn't Hopt, and that it was a case of mistaken identity. His defense accused police of rushing to judgment and trying to prove that Hopt was guilty rather than going where the evidence led them. On February 15, 1989, Howard Haupt was acquitted on all charges, the jury later saying they were skeptical of eyewitness testimony. Most of the witnesses who had testified, if not all of them, had only seen photos of Haupt during the initial investigation. They didn't see him in person until they actually got to the courtroom. At least one eyewitness contradicted herself, initially saying the suspect had brown hair and was muscular, but saying on the stand that he was skinny and blonde. One witness even said she was sure Haupt wasn't the man she had seen that day. In 1994, Haupt filed a $4 million lawsuit against the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, the City of Las Vegas, and Clark County. The lawsuit alleged that Haupt had been subject to unreasonable search and seizures, and that detectives had manipulated evidence to get a search warrant and coerce a confession. His lawyer here, J. Pat Horton, also accused police of honing in on Haupt as a suspect and trying to build their case around the idea that he was guilty. Haupt was ultimately awarded $1 million in punitive damages, but later said the lawsuit had been more trouble than it was worth. As of July 2021, nobody else has been charged with kidnapping and killing Alexander, and his case remains unsolved. So those are the two cases I have for you today. I would love to see them solved someday, but I'm not sure what the odds are at this point. And as always, I would love to know your thoughts on these cases in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.